Hume begins by drawing a clear distinction between impressions and ideas. Hume refers to impressions as lively and vivid perceptions, whereas ideas are drawn from the memory or imagination and are therefore less vivid and lively. According to Hume, impressions comprehend when we hear, see, feel, love, hate, desire, and will. Therefore, both the colour red and the feeling of anger are considered impressions. Ideas would be what would arise when we reflect upon these impressions. So the memory of seeing the colour red or a thought about anger are therefore considered ideas. While we may consider the human mind to be an unlimited organ, able to conceive a vast array of imaginary creatures in far-off lands with great ease, Hume points out that in fact our imagination merely consists of a complex of ideas. For instance, if we imagine a gold tree, we are compounding our idea of gold with our idea of a tree. Hume provides two arguments to support this claim. The first argument he makes is to suggest that all complex ideas are compounded out of simple ideas, which are in turn derived from simple impressions. For instance, a person's idea of God as supremely good and intelligent comes from taking our simple ideas of human goodness and intelligence and exaggerating them without limit. The second argument that Hume puts forth is that our imagination is limited to those ideas of which we have had impressions. Thus, a blind man is unable to imagine colours, a deaf man to imagine sounds, or anyone in the government to imagine what a school lunch is. Hume also discusses the connections that exist between ideas, asserting that all ideas are linked to other ideas. Hume then lays out three principles by which ideas might be associated. First is resemblance, where a picture of an egg might make us think of an egg. Second is contiguity in time or place, where mention of one musician might lead us to discuss other musicians. Third connection he states as cause and effect, where the thought of a wound might make us think of the pain that follows from the wound. There are some objections to Hume's arguments that even Hume points out himself. He states that I can imagine certain colours without ever having perceived them. For instance, if I have seen several shades of blue, I might be able to imagine some other shade of blue that falls between them. While Hume has no real answer to this objection, he remarks that this counterexample is so singular and inconsequential it does not upset his general argument. However, it could also be pointed out that while we are experienced in distinguishing colours, we are not so good with some other sensations. For instance, we often have trouble distinguishing between different tastes. While Hume's writings concerning impressions and ideas have the clear and obvious strengths of being easy to comprehend and reasonably applicable to everyday life, it has the slight drawback of being a little too vague in its explanations, allowing for easy counter-arguments to be made.